This is an audio supplement to America, America, recorded by Lisa Daniels, Booker H. Stevens Publishing. Cover art by V.L. Cox. To see art in person, visit V.L. Cox's collection at the Rosa Parks Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. This is a recorded interview with Mary Richardson, a Tuskegee alumni. To visit her story, visit https://tinyurl.com/74218 MHR. Here is the recording of that interview. Way down in Inslee.
Mary Richardson, born in Birmingham, Alabama, November the 23rd, 1937. Reared in what is now still is called Inslee, but it's a part of Birmingham. My time goes all the way back to Tuxedo Junction. In the junction at that time, they had black businesses. One of the things that we very seldom see now, the doctors were black, the dentist was black, you had a black variety store, the cleaners was owned by a black person. Your clubs in that area were all African Americans, black, colored, whatever you want to call us at that time. So that's who we trade with. Every now and then we would go to Birmingham and go to Posits or Loveman's. Those stores, you could not try on clothes, you could buy them. You couldn't return them if they were too small or too large. You could buy them. And there was a place that one of my friends told me that was in the basement of Posits where they would let you try on the clothes. But they did not want at that time in the late 40s all the way up to the 60s. They did not want you to put your body in clothes that they might sell for the whites. Back to Tuxedo Junction. I think everybody has heard the song Way Down South in Birmingham. There's a place they call Tuxedo Junction. A lot of people have misconcept of where that name came from. One book that I read said that there was a tuxedo shop, but can you imagine? African Americans, black, coloreds at that time, late 40s, could not afford a tuxedo. They could rent them from somewhere, I guess, but I'm not sure where they got them from. But that was not what it was. At that time, upstairs in what they call the Belcher Building, it is still standing. It's now the Nixon Building. Upstairs was like a big ballroom. Once a year, my uncle told me this, once a year they would have a grand ball or gala, and people would come from all over Alabama to come to Tuxedo Junction to that one big dance. And it was named Tuxedo because they wore tuxedos at this one time. He said there was no tuxedo shop. When I was born, I know I didn't ever see one, but he said there was never a tuxedo shop. It was where they would come to dance, so to speak, the night away. And they had to have on, the men had to have on a tuxedo, and the ladies had to have on long ball gowns once a year. Also, at this time, we had, like I said, we had black doctors. Growing up as a child, something happened to one of the children in the neighborhood. We never stopped at home. My sister fell off the ditch, bruised her side, and the lady said, Oh, look at all that blood. Go home. Where your parents? We said, we going to the doctor. We would just go to the doctor's office and the nurse would fix us up. I don't care what it was. A scratch, we were going down to Dr. Cole's office. There at that time, two medical doctors, Dr. Cole and Dr. Robinson. The dentist was Dr. Belcher. They were all upstairs where that one big room used to be. They had divided it into doctor's offices. There was no more tuxedo dance when I was a child. That was long ago with my parents. Also at that time, they would not fill black doctors' prescriptions. I think Alley Drug was the only place. Dr. Robinson, I'm not sure if he went back to school to become a pharmacist, like he was always a pharmacist and became an MD, but he had the Robinson Pharmacy in the junction, in Tuxedo Junction, where people would come to get their prescriptions filled if they went to a black doctor. Also there was, I can't ever think of the man's name that owned the cleaners. You had Capistrano Club. Churches were there. I grew up in Macedonia Church, Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church, Reverend J.C. Cunningham. Still, always loved to talk about him. He was a lawyer that came out of, believe it or not, Iowa. And Dr. Cunningham, that's where he got the doctor from, because he was a lawyer. He believed in African Americans, black children, being able to know all about Robert Rules of Order, all about church laws. At my church, one of the few, we even had a library. So during church meetings, all the, let's say from 12 up to 18, if you were still at home, you learned how to run a meeting by using Robert Rules of Order. Every child had to do it. You also had to participate in some activity in the church. Now, you don't hear much of BYPU or BTU, the Explorers. I've forgotten what they call the young ladies, but in the evening, between church and evening service, we had BYPU, Baptist Training Unit. And you had the Red Circle, Explorers for boys, and that's where you learned about how to, what's in the Bible. You learned the history. They had teachers at that time that taught you all about why you were a Baptist. Some of the different denominations and why we were not like that. Now I don't think I've heard of BYPU or BTU in ages. Sunday school was mostly organized so that the Sunday school lesson would go and you could hear about that. But BYPU was more of a Bible study time. And the more you progressed, the higher you went from the Red Circle to the something else to the something else. Also, in our church, Macedonia Baptist Church is still here. We learned, like I say, all the Baptist doctrine. We learned why it was there. We learned, like I said, to organize and to carry out a meeting, whether it was a church meeting or any other kind of meeting, according to Robert's Rules of Order. So now when you hear churches say, I'm using this Rules of Order, this Rules of Order, we've always taught Robert's, but there are many more. But Robert's was the main one that was used at my church during that time, the 40s and the 50s, 1940s and the 1950s. Reverend J.C. Cunningham. I can remember, this is a story. I got a lot of stories I like to tell. We had a church bus, and the juniors would always have an outing, especially in the summertime. They would take us to the park and what have you. And our advisor had a brother that had worked for the company that had jukeboxes. So we were going to his house. He had a garage, and he had put a jukebox out there, and he had hamburgers, hot dogs for all the kids coming from the church. So we went, and I can't think of our driver's name. I think of it after a while. But we got there, and they were playing not church music. They were playing rock and roll, rhythm and blues. He made us all get back on the bus. We were so angry. We were fussing and then nobody telling what else. Because we couldn't stay and dance. No, you can't do that. You know, Baptist folks didn't like that. We got back to the church. Reverend Cunningham was there. He said, "Why are you all back? So you just left." And we were all talking at the same time. We said he wouldn't let us stay because they were playing rock and roll, Ruth Brown or somebody else. He said, "Get back on that bus." And Mr. Hodge said, "Our pastor say, them children going to be dancing." He said, "I don't care. Put back on that bus and take them right back." Baby, we love Reverend J.C. Cunningham. He got on the bus with us, took us back, sat down in that man's garage, ate some hot dogs and hamburgers, and said, "Dance all you want." So Mr. Hodge was really upset, the deacon. So we got to church that Sunday, and everybody was talking about it. All the teenagers out there dancing and whatever. Reverend Cunningham preached the sermon. Everybody was shouting. By the time he got through, he said, "We knew where they were. They were not somewhere else. I had them, baby." We were so glad. We love Reverend J.C. Cunningham because of what he did for the youth. Once I was 16, believe it or not, when Reverend Norwood came to the church, and he's still there. And I'm going on 81 now, so you know how old he is. He was about 20 or 25 then. He's still preaching. But he did not have the same relationship with the teenagers in the church that Reverend J.C. Cunningham had. I went off to college, got married, had babies, and never did go back. It was my job as part of the junior church to read the announcements. So I used to always say I want to be like Miss Helen McElwain. Miss Helen McElwain could read those announcements, and she could emphasize things. You just wanted to hear her on Sunday mornings because she was going to do it. When she died, Reverend Norwood called me, and I think I was going to Friendship out in Park Springs. Married, had babies then. He said, "Your job is open." And I never did go back. I probably should have, but I didn't. At that time, segregation was in full force. I remember when Car 19 would be in front of the Ku Klux Klan coming down 20th Street when they needed the march. The only thing we did was go in the house, pull the shades, and peep out the window because we didn't want them to see us looking at them march down 20th Street in Ensley. Also, there was only one black high school in Ensley. That was Holy Family Catholic High School. J.O. or Western Olin was not there at that time. If you were African American, if you were black, colored, whatever you want to call us, you had to go to Parker and ride what they called the special. They had streetcars that left out of every neighborhood that went to Parker. After that, by 1952, I think it was, it's when they, 53, when they built Western Olin. It is now called Jackson Olin after their first principal. But the only high school that was in Ensley at that time was for blacks, was Holy Family Catholic High School. Shut up something there.
Talk about why you went to Tuskegee.
Oh, I went to Tuskegee. Really, that's the only thing that you heard about. You heard about Booker T. Washington. You heard about George Washington Carver. I'm going to tell you why I went into the field that I'm in, believe it or not. My cousin, Clarence Jones, played football for Parker. He always wanted to be a coach. So I would follow him. I would go to the creek with them. They taught me how to swim. While I'm thinking about it, there was only one park in Birmingham that had a pool. That was Tuxedo. All kids, all grown people, if you wanted to swim, you had to come to Avenue T in Ensley. That was the only park for black, Tuxedo Park. My cousin and most of his friends were lifeguards, so they taught me how. So he went to Tennessee State, and I always, that's another story, wanted to be a majorette. So my parents let me go to council for 1 year. I didn't learn a thing. I did not. So I was there anytime a teacher in that 6th grade wanted a child to know something. That's probably one reason I became a teacher. They called me. Most of your instructors at that time, teachers, especially the women, went to Macedonia. So they would say, go get Mary Harris. She can show them how to do this. I had already had fractions and all of that. So I was going from class to class, just teaching children how to do this. The teacher said, go get Mary Harris, you know. And then I like to sing. I like to dance. So every variety show they had, I was singing, I was dancing. I wasn't learning anything. So my grandmother said, honey, you have not learned a damn thing. That's what she told me. Your ass going back down there to sister. I was so mad with Anna Harris, I didn't know what to do. I cried the whole year. That was the year that council got a band. Mr. Jesse Champion, great singer, always with the Heritage Band. He was the first band master at council. All my friends, and see, I just knew I was going to be a majorette. I had long hair and blue eyes. So, well, no way.
That's the requirement.
That was the requirement. But no way. You were going to turn me down from being a majorette. So they got the band, and all my friends, Queen Esther Gamble, all of them was in the band. They taught me how to twerk. So my cousin said, you always want to go to school, learn how to teach majorettes, how to teach them how to dance. And he said, go in health and physical education. And that's how I got in health and physical education. Because everybody said, why you not in English? Why you not in social studies? They're surprised when they see on my certification that I'm a health and physical education major. That's because I want to dance. And that's what I did at Davis. I had the dance group and I had the majorettes. So I got to be a majorette. It's somebody else's. But I cried a whole year.
Is that why you wanted to go to Tuskegee?
That's why I wanted to go to Tuskegee. Because that's all I knew. In books and things, and the only thing that the sisters taught us was about Tuskegee and Booker T. Washington, John Washington Carver. So I kept asking my cousin, why you want to go to Tennessee? I don't want to go to Tennessee. I want to go to Tuskegee. Now ask me why I thought Booker T was going to still be there. I don't know. And I said, I'm going down there because they did. George Washington Carver. That's all I knew. I knew about no other black people, really. I said, because they did so much and he invented so much, I'm going to that school. And he said, go on, I'm going to Tennessee State. He went to Tennessee State because they had a good football team. And he wanted to coach. And he did. He played professional ball with Canadian League, and then he came back, stayed in Detroit, and coached at the high school in Detroit till he died. But that was it. I just knew Tuskegee. I went to study Tennessee State. I heard about Fisk because of the Fisk singers. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go there. They said only light-skinned folks could go to Fisk. Now, I don't know why. Mm-hmm. They said you had to be bright, and then you could get in Fisk. And that's not the truth.
Right.
But that's what was said. And I said, no, I can't go there. I don't want to go to Tennessee now. I want to go to Tuskegee. That was one of the reasons Booker T and George Washington called. Because they had done so much.
I've got two questions. I'm going to ask the first one.
Okay.
In reference to colorism in the community, because you mentioned light-skinned people, was there more favor, like people favorite light-skinned people over dark-skinned people in Black communities? And why?
Really, in what you want to do. Mm-hmm. What you wanted to do. It's like all the majorettes were light-skinned. You had to have long hair. There were really no chocolates. So I thought, really, that didn't even bother me because I had the hair and the eyes. Mm-hmm. So the being chocolate didn't bother me because I just knew I was going to be in it. Mm-hmm. But at the lower level, it didn't make any difference. But at that time, you had at Parker. And I don't know why I thought I was going to go to Parker because Holy Family did not have a band. Mm-hmm. With only light-skinned girls with long hair and pretty shapes. My grandmother was white. Her daddy was half white. Okay, that's where the blue eyes came from. She looked like an Italian woman. All her sisters and brothers looked the same. They would come from what was called Freetown. Ain't they big? They had a brother here in Bessemer that ran Hayes Funeral Home over on the south side. We would have to get on the streetcar and come to Bessemer. And I would always have to come with them. And you can imagine, I never did want to. I would cry. Because we would get on the bus and they couldn't understand. People would be watching and look, what are these white women doing with this chocolate child going to the back of the bus? And it was like, I didn't want them to stare at me. Mm-hmm. And that's what they would do. And people would white people would turn all the way around in their seats when my grandmother and her sisters would go to the back and take a seat. So I don't know what they thought. But I know what I thought. I didn't want to be with them when they got on that bus. I said, can't we go another way? Can Uncle so-and-so come get him in his car? Hey, I didn't want to do that. But then we would go down to First National Bank investment. They had a first cousin, white, that worked at that bank. So Uncle Hayes, once we got to his house, he would take them all down to the bank to see that cousin. I never did go with him. I stayed at the funeral home. I had enough just bringing them on the streetcar. So there was a difference. But now when it came to the community, there was no food stamps. My grandmother had a big garden on the side of her house. I've always asked my sister, did we have a hose pipe? They said no. The faucet was on the back. I had a pail. I had to fill that pail with water, come all the way around the house, go to that garden and water. I swore I never had a garden. We had chickens. Had to wring their necks, put the feather off of them. I said, Lord, if you let me get grown, I don't want no chickens. I don't want no garden. And I definitely don't want to add no sheets and pillowcases. We had to add them then. I said, the Lord heard my prayer. Because now it's all, hey, you wash them, put them in the dry, baby, and throw them back on the bed. So he heard my cry. We had the first, she used to wash out, I ain't want to learn how to cook. And she would say, you're going to have to go to school. That was always embedded in me. You got to go to college because your ass is too lazy. You don't want You don't want to clean up. You don't want to cook. So you can't work in the white folks' kitchen. Okay, so you got to go to school.
So those were the options. Either you're working for white people or you are going to school.
Right. What else could you do at that time? That's your job. That's all. But nothing else. You had to go to school to be a teacher, preacher, nurse. You had to be, that's the only really professions that they really talked about. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Alabama would pay, if you wanted to be a lawyer, Alabama would pay so much for you to go to a school in the north. I'm not sure about that. I've heard that, that they paid. If you want to be a doctor, you got in, Alabama would pay for you to go somewhere in the north. You couldn't go to the University of Alabama. I said...
Black people couldn't go to the University of Alabama? Okay.
I said in one of my classes, I don't know what we were talking about, and I said I could not go to the University of Alabama, to Auburn, to Troy. And one of the students said, your ACT score wasn't good enough. And then somebody said, she said she was smart, she went to Holy Family, so she had to have good grades. And I said, what is my age? And then it dawned on them that segregation, color of my skin, had kept me out of these places. But at first, it didn't hit them when I said I couldn't go. But now I'm happy. So they always say, you don't roll Tide. I said, I roll Tigers. I roll Tuskegee. Why should I roll Tide? I didn't go to Tide, Alabama. So I'm not going to give you my money. My money goes to Tuskegee. I'm going to get him some money.
So I think this is a good transition in reference to the fact that you aren't with the Crimson Tide, but you are wearing crimson and cream.
For them. So,
yes.
And so, they ask me that when they see the elephants.
Right.
They say, oh, did you go to Alabama? And I always frown and turn on. I said, do it look like I went to Alabama?
So why did you decide to join and become a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated?
That this is another thing.
Okay.
How true this is, I do not know.
Okay.
It's all black folks with Delta and all bright folks with
Wow. Okay.
That's not the truth.
Okay.
You know that's not the truth.
I know.
But for some reason, I have not the slightest idea. And I think that was in my mind. That no, because my sister's an AKA. I don't want to be an AKA because they have to be light. And I think that has really, I told my grandmother, I said, you know what, you probably reason I hate white folks. And she would just laugh. She said, I said, used to beat the snot out of me. She said, you was always wrong. You was always wrong. I said, I don't like real bright folks now. Very seldom. I think I've had maybe one, and that's me. That's Mary Richardson.
Well, what attracted you to the organization?
You know what? I don't know. I really don't. I have not the slightest idea, but that's the only thing I can think. And that all my friends are there, so wasn't nothing else for me to be.
Well, are you active right now?
Yeah.
So why do you stay active?
That I don't know, because half of the time I don't go. But I told him I was doing something on Saturday, just reading. I wasn't there for the longest. But I signed up for 2 committees, Panhellenic and Social Services. Now, whether I'm going to do that when September comes, that's going to be another story. And I always pay my money, pay my dues. But I just wasn't going. So it looked like it has not lost the interest, so to speak. Still always gonna be a Delta, but just keeping up with everything.
Well, in reference to this recording, I'm gonna tell you what she told me when I was in high school. Delta stood for change, and they always stood up for change. And I appreciated learning about so many different political figures who, at that time and our time right now, they are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and devoted to scholarship, sisterhood, and service. And those are key reasons why I appreciated meeting Ms. Richardson and Ms. Morrow, who are both members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated when I was in high school, which also led me to think about joining the organization when I went to college. So I'm very grateful for the mentorship of all the deltas in my life.
Sweet. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's been too long ago, folks. Somebody said, "Oh, you still know the founders?" I said, "I don't know my name." You telling me that? And somebody said, "You all right?" No, I don't remember. I said, I used to just sing them out, you know, because that's the way you learn. And gotta have the Delta song. With that, I said, I know the first verse. So now I got to learn the song.
There we go. We just learn. I think that's good. So what would you, if you could say anything to the people who are going to listen to this, what would be one piece of advice for living at this time? Because right now, a lot of people are feeling,
we're divided nation.
Feeling very divided and trying to figure out what does tomorrow look like. And you lived at a point in time where we were actually segregated. We had a number of different things that kept people from being supported or continuing in the American dream. So what piece of advice could you give us at this time in 2018?
At that time, you had a community. I mean, a real community where everybody helped everybody else. If TC and I went on strike, like I said, my grandmama had a garden. She had chickens. She said, Miss Hattie doesn't have such a thing. Take this up there. No food stamps, anything. The community helped the community. One of the bishop, he was Pentecostal, sent grocery out of his store to people that were on strike that, didn't have the money and what have you. So the community was a community. When they said raise a child, when you went down the street, you spoke to everybody that was sitting on that porch. So when you got back, you got a butt whipping because you were not grown, and that was instilled in you. You speak to people. You don't know who might have to help you.
Right.
So now, I know the folks staying across from me, ladies staying right on, about 2 doors down. I don't know the rest of them. But at that time, I lived on 20th Street, half block from the junction. I knew everybody on 20th Street, going all the way up to what we call up in Inslee, to the stores. I knew every family. They knew me. They knew Anna Harris' grandbaby. Because if you did anything, by the time you got back home, she was going to be standing on the street.
I know that's right.
I said, Big Mama, please. And she left. We were big and went to stay with my aunt, who's having babies in Chicago then. And we would go to her birthday every year, the 1st of May. And I remember, because we would always pass through Louisville, Kentucky, and they were getting ready for the Kentucky Derby, but we would always be going to Chicago. The Big Mama, and she said, I said, you beat the snot out of me all the time. She said, you were so wrong, y'all. And my son tell me that, now, Mama, you be so wrong. How come you be so wrong and think you right? Let me tell you what I did.
We're going to, because I think my phone is about to die. So what we're going to do is say, remember one key thing that she said, especially in 2018, that we don't have at this point in time is community. We need to build community. Know the people around you, know the families, and develop a better understanding of the people who are near you.
Thank you.
All right.
You said it all.
That's Mrs. Richardson. Okay.